Welcome to WWDC 2025. I'm here in my studio. Let's talk about what's new. Wow, okay, so Apple just spent the last hour and a half announcing a whole ton of new features for iPhone and Mac and iPad. Huge update for iPad, as well as tvOS, visionOS, all that good stuff. Rather than us sitting here for an hour and a half and talking about everything, I've whittled it down to what I think are the 12 biggest announcements from WWDC. And this is actually zero alcohol, but it's also like 8 o'clock here in the evening in the UK as I'm recording this after the event. Anyway, this is not sponsored by Corona. Top 12 announcements from DubDub. Number 1, the new names. This is really quick and really boring. Basically, instead of iOS 19, which we were expecting for the new iPhones, they've basically aligned everything to the year. So we're going to get iOS 26, iPad OS 26, TV OS 26, Vision OS 26, you get the idea. Although it will all be coming out this year. Not that exciting, but what is more exciting is the new glass design, which is also kind of tying all Apple's products together. This is like a new universal design language, which has essentially been inspired by what we've seen on Vision OS with this guy. I still like having this, although I've used it twice this year, but actually there are some big updates, which I'll tell you in a second. Anyway, basically that glass aesthetic of Vision OS is now coming to everything else from your iPhone, iPad, Mac, iPad. So basically it's like Windows Vista is coming to Mac. And we just have this new kind of circular, rounded aesthetic to all the UI pieces and the menus and toggles and buttons and things like that. It's all very translucent and lovely, but I am particularly excited to try the new clear theme. You remember last year with iOS 18, I could make my apps blue or purple and all manner of horrible color configurations. Now they've added the option to make it clear. So you could have a really futuristic Minority Report looking translucent-y clear vibe for your phone, or still go light or dark mode, whatever you like. You're getting even more options to make your iPhone look like your iPhone, and that's always a good thing in my book. They're also tweaking a bunch of the apps, mainly to kind of reduce the menu overlays and put the content first. Also, they're significantly changing the camera app. This is what it currently looks like, but they're going to change it to what I can only describe as more like the Pixel, the Google Pixel, with separate photo and video modes, and then within that you can swipe around and also swipe up for more options. They've also combined the resolution and frame rate menu options into one. Everything I've seen so far does look good. I must admit I did not like the Photos app update that Apple introduced a few months back with the current iOS 18. It's just made it more complicated, but so far, from what I'm seeing with the camera app and the photos and everything and all this glass design, it does look nice. Number 3, live translation and integrated into phone, messages, FaceTime apps. If you have a conversation with someone in a different language, then it will be live translated to you, which I think is particularly mind-blowing when you're on a call with someone or literally having a FaceTime with someone, and they will speak to you, and that will be interpreted, translated, and then a robot lady voice or whoever you choose will then speak it back to you with the translation, and then vice versa back to them. It's very exciting, but I don't know if I need it. I can speak most languages pretty well, like Eins Bier bitte or Una cerveza, por favor. Got a cupboard. Numero cat. Catera. If you use Apple Music, then the app will have a new option to auto mix. It will use Apple Intelligence to mix one song into the other. So you basically get this advanced crossfade. Like a DJ, it can time stretch, it can match the beat and BPM. I don't know, that seemed kind of cool. They've also added translations of lyrics so you can listen to your favorite foreign music songs, and also they'll give it to you phonetically. They'll break it down so you know how to actually say the words to your K-pop or J-pop band. And also, sticking with music, they've added the ability to turn your iPhone into a mic for karaoke when using Apple Music. I believe this is with tvOS, the Apple Music app on Apple TV, but each person can use either their own iPhone or pass it around, as long as you clean it between people spitting all over it. But you can basically have it as your own little microphone singing to the Apple Music on your TV. That seemed pretty fun. I like that. Number 5, and let's talk about visual intelligence and the fact that it is now able to see what you have on screen. Not to quite the same extent that we were all hoping, like it will immediately know what's happening on your screen and then give you contextual feedback and suggestions, but what you can now do is take a screenshot and then there'll be a little button down here that says either search for the image or add it to the calendar. You can also do a search with ChatGPT based on what you've screenshotted on your screen. So, you know, Apple Intelligence, it's getting there very slowly. Number 6, and I wear an Apple Watch. I don't wear it every day, but I try to as much as I can, mostly for the fitness tracking and the health tracking. And what they've added now, for the first time, is a little bit of Apple Intelligence. And it's called Workout Buddy. So based on your past history of fitness goals and also your health, it'll sort of give you nice positive prompts on what you're doing, debriefs after your workout. It'll be a nice extra thing to sort of hold you account and get a bit of an idea of the workout you've just done coming from your watch. And this is kind of like the first time we've seen some kind of Apple Intelligence built into the watch. But speaking of design though, and in addition to the glass design language coming to iPad and Mac as well, we're also now getting personalized folders. I'm very excited about this. The standard Apple Blue folder, as you know it, is dead. Well, it's not, it's still a default, but you can change the color, you can add a little icon or symbol or emoji to the folder, and this goes for your folders on Mac and also the iPad. Sticking with the Mac though, and as well as the new design refresh, the personalized folders, we also have a huge update to Spotlight. That's the little command menu that pops up when you press Command and Spacebar. This is having a huge overhaul. So in terms of what will pop up when you search, it'll intelligently know what you've been working on. You'll also have different tabs for different file types. It'll just make searching within your Mac a whole lot easier. So you've got the supercharged Spotlight, but combined with the new quick keys, which is kind of like shortcuts. So you could open Spotlight and then type SM, and that will send message, or you could type AR, which means add reminder. So it'll be like AR, make a video about WWDC, and it'll add that reminder. Particularly for more advanced users, this is going to make using your Mac a whole lot easier. One thing I am excited for on Mac is the new Games app. This is also coming to iPad. This will show you all the games that you have installed on your laptop, so whether you have Steam, Apple Arcade, etc. And also Metal 4, the API, I think is what you call it, API. Basically the graphics engine that developers can use to make games will be much more powerful and includes things like frame interpolation, which is a big deal when it comes to AI upscaling. So we're still waiting to see the big shift of traditional Windows PC games coming to Mac, but they do seem to be making it easier and easier and giving developers more tools. So hopefully we'll continue to see more games ported well onto Mac. Number 10, Vision OS. Now the problem is only a few 100,000 people actually bought one of these. I don't know anyone who doesn't do what I do for a living or work for Apple that actually bought one, but still, hey, the Apple Vision Pro, very nice bit of kit. Far too expensive, too heavy. But aside from that, the biggest issues we had with this is that you couldn't share the experience with other people. Well, that's changing. I think they're calling it team share team, something like that. Well, basically, you and your mate or your colleague who are both wearing a Vision Pro can then watch the same movie or use the same 3D design app. That'll be cool, but particularly for business users, that's a big deal. Also, you'll have widgets which you can leave around your 3D world, like calendar, photo, weather, and it will stay there. And I believe this goes for the apps as well, so you can actually save your layout, which is also a big thing that we wanted to see on Vision OS, so you can just pop it on each time and everything's just there. The personas, those creepy 3D faces that you see when you do FaceTime or look at someone else using a Vision Pro, those have been massively updated and actually look pretty good now. Less like a creepy PS2 game and actually more like a lifelike simulation of the person. So excited to have a play with the new personas. Will all this convince you to buy a Vision Pro if you haven't already bought one? Probably not, but it is good to see that it keeps getting better. And for those of us that do have one, particularly business users, I think this is going to be a big update. Number 11, we're almost there, I promise. Let's talk about the phone and messages app because the messages app because these have had a big revamp. For example, we now have call screening, which has been built on their live voicemail. So when your phone rings, the caller will then be prompted to give their name and the reason for call, and then that will be then transcribed to you, and you can decide if you want to pick it up or ignore it. There's also hold assist if you're on a call and you've been put on hold or you're in a queue. And I love that Apple said that it will auto detect if there's hold music. Also messages, they're adding polls, which anyone can make. And I love the idea of this. So in your messages, your group messages, you can say, what's the best day for hanging out, Saturday or Sunday? It'll then say, hey, do you want to make a poll out of this? Because the AI, blah, blah, blah. Much, much easier, I hope, for organizing events. And finally, all my screens have timed out because I've taken forever making this. Number 12, let's talk about the iPad. This is probably the biggest overhaul to the iPad ever in terms of software. I think it might be. We still don't have any sort of new desktop style apps, but they've completely revamped the multitasking, the file management, and just made this so much more like using a proper Mac desktop. So what will happen is you'll open your apps full screen as usual, but then at the bottom right with iPad OS 26, you'll be able to sort of pull it in and sort of window it. And then you'll be able to move windows around. Whichever one you tap will be at the front. It's like Stage Manager, but so much better. And it'll have similar Mac icons at the top left where you can expand and minimize. And with the new tiling feature, you can flick apps to the edge. This is kind of like Snap within Windows or what Magnet did on Mac a while ago. And honestly, this makes me want to get a bigger 13-inch iPad Air or iPad Pro just for the extra screen space to make having this sort of multitasking setup more comfortable to use. And they've also added a new menu bar at the top of the iPad, which will always be there with a little swipe down. Again, just turning it more into a proper desktop. I think for me, it's this iPad update that's the biggest deal out of the whole WWDC this year. But what about you? What's been the highlight? What are you most excited for? Also, if you do fancy trying any of these things, you can actually pay $99 to become an Apple developer, download the software, but of course it is not final. It'll be buggy, it'll probably destroy your battery life. And also within the terms and conditions, they say you shouldn't really show it off or take screenshots. So that's why I haven't done that, because Tim Cook will come in here and tell me off. But what you can do is wait a few weeks, and in July, the public betas will be out. More stable, you can try it, I will give you some demos, and then broadly in the fall, which is kind of like autumn for us here in the UK, we will see the full public release of the software, most likely around the launch of the iPhone 17 series, although Max and Vision OS maybe a little bit later. Still, I think that was a good update from Apple. I'm sad not to see any new hardware, no AirPods Pro 3s, no Studio displays, no Mac Pros, that sort of thing, but I think in terms of software, particularly for the iPad, that was a solid show, even if I wasn't invited. But that's okay, maybe next year, bye!